Welcome to the Playful Domme, the Poly Wife, and the Virgin podcast, where we share our most intimate stories, experiences, and details of our love lives, our intimacy lives, our play lives, and giving you the opportunity to gaze in and get a glimpse of what could be possible in your life as well. As we share our stories, our adventures, we weave in tips, tricks, and techniques to help build your confidence, boost your courage, and give you the opportunity to ask for what you want in your life. Welcome to the podcast. Oh, and just a couple of quick thoughts before we get started. One, we are just everyday people. We are not professionals, licensed therapists, anything like that. This is for edutainment purposes only. This is not medical advice or legal advice, financial advice, nothing like that. Listen at your own discretion. And this is for mature audiences. We're going into deep subjects and sharing deeply about intimacy and all the things about that. So just notice who you're around and let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Playful Domme, the Poly Wife, and the Virgin podcast. Today, we are going to talk about kink. But not just any kink. We're going to talk about sensual kink and how to incorporate that in all the big ways and small ways into your intimate lives, even if it's just with yourself. And also bring in a little bit about pervertibles, which I know that Lisa, the Poly Wife, will be happy to share. So what is kink? Kink is really anything that is outside what could be considered the normal parameters of sexual activity that causes a state of arousal. So in terms of kinkiness, for instance, there's a lot of people who have fetishes about feet. They just completely sexually objectify feet. They get off on feet. So it's a very unique breed of fetishists that I am aware of in the BDSM world that I have plenty of stories about. But kink can be also as much as a sensual touch, something that arouses the sensations in the body. It can be things like, I love my pinwheel, the Warburton wheel, which is actually a chiropractic tool that is also used in the BDSM space. And with that, it's this eliciting of these sensations that go, bringing rush of attention and presence to your body. So much about kink to me is about being brought into our bodies and being so aware of what we're feeling and the excitement and the sensations that are going on in it, that it increases a state of arousal. And for instance, a blindfold is a great example of something that's sensual and kinky. When I begin many of my sessions, especially when I'm being a dominatrix, the very first thing I do, once I have the client, once I have the submissive completely stripped down, which in a way is like this state of taking the armor off and allowing themselves to be fully seen and it's a very vulnerable, very sacred space. And I have them get down on their knees with their hands behind their back, their eyes closed and their head down. And I will start speaking to them very much in this tone, in this way, of what kind of experience they're going to have and everything. And I'll put a blindfold over their eyes. And why is that? Is that because once we take sight away, immediately all the other senses go online, even stronger. They become hypersensitive and aware to the point that, you know, there's the sound of my heels clicking the floor, and that elicits this arousal. They can feel the brush of me as I walk around them on their skin, my breath on their back or on their neck or in their ear. They're hearing my voice. They can smell me. So while we take eyesight away, everything else comes on in a greater magnitude. So that's one example of, just a little bit of kinkiness. Lisa, what is your view on kink and maybe a few things that have been really sensual for you? And I have some other ideas too, of course, but I'd love to get your
Well, I think that one of the things that I've learned is that kink really is quite a long, broad scope of topics. Like it can be anything from a blindfold to a barbed wire wrapped bat. So it could be something that's sensuous, like fur and touch things that might touch my skin that will elicit a response, fire, something sharp, something soft like a feather or fur, or it could be a kink, could be just a foot fetish. So kinky can be almost anything. And one of the things that I have loved is the letting go of my judgment of what other people like. So we talk about not yucking somebody else's yum. So somebody else might really enjoy getting peed on. It's not my fetish, but other people enjoy it. And quite frankly, part of my journey has been a willingness to say yes. So I'm not saying no. Well, there are certain things I am saying no. I'm saying no to scat. I'm saying no to exchange of blood. But I was at a party this weekend and I had two very, very different types of kinky things happen. The first was my boyfriend and I are taking classes in Shibari. So he's learning how to tie knots and create rope harnesses on my body, which is lovely. We're not doing any suspension, but just the design of the rope and how it attaches to my body. And so that's lovely. And the feel, we use a nylon rope by Diadict Rope. We'll include the link in our summary. But so the rope is beautiful, bright, brilliant colors. Some of it glows in the dark, and this is really soft. And he draws the rope across my skin and his hand touches different parts of my body, but it's all quite sensual. However, he can also pull it through very quickly, and the end of it might whip my side or my back or my breast or something, and that creates a different sensation. So it's a soft product that can have a bit of a stingy end if he used it that way. The second thing I did was we had needle play. I did with another top. She is a friend of mine, and so she put wings in my back with feathers. So she put needles into my back, sewed them in, I guess made a little pinch, and she put the needle through. And then I had these feathers coming out of my back. And then she tied the feathers together with ribbon and created a sort of a corset look on my back.
Wow.
So I had this, and now I laugh when this happens. It's not that it isn't painful, but the pain for me, the pain isn't intolerable. It's not bad. It's like just getting a prick, but it creates a rush of endorphins in my body. And I laugh and laugh and laugh and laugh. And it's just, for me, it's fun. I don't want intense pain. I don't want bad bruising. But those were two extremes that I experienced. One was the soft rope and the other was the needle.
And this was at your same event, right?
This is the same party. Yep.
Wow.
Other people had much more, like one woman was doing rope for the first time and she was hog-tied. So her arms and her legs were tied together behind her back. And then she was teased with tinsel that was attached to a violet wand. And so she was feeling shocks of electricity all over, being brushed over her body. And she loved it. She was really, really enjoying that. There wasn't a lot of heavy, what we call heavy impact at this party. But one of my friends had taken a baseball bat, wrapped one of those pool foam around it, and then wrapped the foam in barbed wire.
Wow.
And I've seen it in use before, and it is terrifying, and it does create a bloody mess. But I decided that I at least wanted to feel it on my body. He wasn't taking the bat and hitting me like he would hit a bat, but he tapped my skin with it and it didn't really hurt at all. So I said, oh, that's not that scary. He says, well, it depends on the weight of the thrust, right?
Got it.
So if he's just tapping me, it's just like little stings. And so now I'm open to that, not in a bruising way, but in a sort of
playful
awakening
way.
my body. So the
Sure.
skin is the biggest organ in the body, and so much of it is sensitive, and some places more sensitive than others.
Yeah, sure.
But the part of the kinks that I like in sensual kink is the different feelings that I get on my skin, whether it's being pricked or caressed or impacted in some way.
So did you, again, I'm new on this journey. So the floggers, so was there any flogging that went on? And have you guys had any experience with that? And what types? Because again, to me, flogging seems like it could be heavy, I guess.
In my experience, somebody there had a whip, which I don't like stings. So I don't like that sort of sharp pain. I like a very thuddy pain. So not pain, but impact. So the floggers that I like are 1 inch wide suede falls. Things that are hanging down are called falls. It can be, there are different suedes from different animals, have different softness and stiffness. And I really like a big, thick, heavy flogger because it makes more of a thud on my back and something that's light and would be more whippy. Got it. So
Jess, have you used it? Because I think I've seen you in some of your videos. Was yours you use them for very sensual touch, right? The floggers?
Yes. So I have a pair of suede floggers that I got at the very beginning. So I've had them for almost 3 years now. They are suede, like Lisa shared, with the falls on them, and they're pretty light because I want to be able to maneuver and utilize them. And if they're really heavy, then that's going to bear a lot of strain on my wrists. So how I like to use the floggers, the suede floggers, is very gentle, almost like lapping the skin. If you think about like water, like a wave, how it just kind of like laps at onto our skin, how yummy that feels. So I'll do things like that are very soft and very smooth and caressing, like a caressing motion onto people's bodies. And that feels very, very nourishing and nurturing to people. It feels very, very nice. And with that, because they're suede and they are long strips, it can be very sensual and very soft, but then it can also have more impact.
Jess is coughing. We'll come back.
So, and then as I get more, I'm getting warm. As we're getting it more warmed up, it can start having more impact. It can have more of a sting. And there's also that kind of like tension piece of the arousal and then the excitement and not knowing what's going to happen next, and being open to receive and experience that. So I've done the whole kind of spectrum that can happen with flogging. I was actually at a sex club this last weekend, and I brought my floggers with me because it felt safer for me to go into that space as a dom and to feel that like I'm in control. I'm not. I was told, I don't know, one man had kind of forewarned me that there were going to be men that would like grab my ass as I'm walking by or something like that. And I was just like, try to grab my ass walking by without my permission, like, so like coming in, I decided I felt most safe and most confident going into that space as a dominatrix and bringing my floggers with me. And so what ended up happening was, it turned out there was this really flamboyant, fantastic, lively Black woman who like saw that I had floggers, and she was just like super, super excited. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, oh wow, you have floggers?" I'm like, "Yes, would you like me to flog you?" She's like, "No, I don't want to put you out, but oh my God, I love them so much." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, of course." And so I was like, "Go stand up against this pillar right here." And so she was just like so in it, so excited. And it's just, I have this thing where I, especially in public, I'll pull people really close to me when I'm flogging or spanking them. There's just something about pulling them into me so they feel like held, they feel like like safe, but also kind of like I got you, like, you know. And so, and then I was starting to use my flogger, and she's just like so wet. She's like, it sounds like she was a fast orgasmic woman anyways, but she was like, oh my God, like I'm like a puddle, this is so amazing. And so I'm flogging her, and then I'm spanking her a little bit, and like people are watching, you know, whatever. And then a couple of minutes later, I noticed one of her girlfriends, and she was a little bit more shy, and I was like, you know, would you like to be flogged? She's like, yeah, I would. You know, so she's there, and like she's on the pillar, and I'm flogging her and pulling her, and she's laughing hysterically. And the guy that's with these two ladies, he turns to my boyfriend, and he was like, she's awesome, you know, like look at these women. And like for at least, I mean, I was there for about another hour. For that whole hour, the women were still like so lit up and giggly and happy. And there was a moment that I wasn't feeling well, and I was swishing my flogger around me to kind of create a boundary, just, you know, like I don't want anyone approaching me. This is my safe space, like, you know. And there was a pole, like pole dancing pole in front of me, and a woman came up, and she just like leaned up against the pole, stuck her ass out, pulled up her skirt, and, you know, it was just like this open invitation to like go to town. So like I just started flogging her right there, and like stood up and started spanking her, and then I'm coaching guys on how to spank her well.
Oh
my
gosh.
Pull. And so they're practicing. I'm like, you know, giving them tips in this space. I pull her hair back, and, you know, I tell her what I do, and she's like, tells her husband, get her number, we gotta do sessions with this woman. So, but, you know, it's so playful, and it's happy. Like that's such a piece for me, like that is about finding the joy. And I know it is for Lisa too. And none of this has to be scary and big and dark or painful. It really doesn't have to be. And there's also like this kind of just this excitement. I see it in every person that I start flogging. It's like their eyes get so bright and wide. And there, I did that before at a sacred sexuality retreat, and I was in a temple space with 40 people in it, and I walked in with floggers, and 2 people jumped up because they knew what that was, and the rest of the group were all super spiritual conscious. Nah, not really my thing. But by the time they saw those 2 people and how bright and lit up they were, and happy, because it's not to me, it's not sexual. I'm not going inside them. We're not making out. It's me just holding them and then having a flogger go up against their butt. Like that's all that I'm doing. But it shifted into like literally a line. For 4 hours I did flogging. 4 hours. Oh my gosh. To go from 2 people who jumped up and knew, to seeing people's like excitement and radiance and joy, and like, oh, this isn't this big scary thing. Oh my gosh, it's so much fun.
Yeah, let me try it.
Oh, I get to play, and I don't have to worry about like boundaries or my body, or, you know, like this, like this is very simple, it's very light. And just seeing their experience. And one woman, she's 60, and she had a out of body experience. Like she had a journey, not dissociating. She like went on a journey, and like when she came back into like her body, it was only 10 minutes, but like when she came back, I helped lay her down. She looked like she was 10 years old. She had the innocence and radiance of a 10-year-old girl. She looked so sweet and happy. And that was 2 years ago, and it still touches her, you know? So like, this is what the beauty is that can be in BDSM and in sacred space and in sacred play. Like that's just such a beautiful component. So I have those suede floggers, and then I have a big one that's more thuddy. I really like the thud for myself. Even if I feel like I'm stuck in like emotion or energy and it's not moving, like if I feel really stuck, really stuck, I'll reach out to my friend Harry, and I'll ask him, I'm like, Harry, I need you to flog me. And he's like, okay. And he's like, the big one. I'm like, yeah, the big one. So he'll get out like this big, massive flogger that feels like a tree trunk hitting you.
God, I love it.
Not in a violent way. It's not like literally trees falling on you, but like the impact of it is so, it's like this just like thud.
It's a heavy weight.
And it's a heavy weight. Yeah. And so he'll do that on my, like, you know, my back and my shoulders area for about 2 or 3 minutes. And then I'll break. I'll have the cathartic release. I'll have the shift up, like the energy, the emotion will move out that was stuck, that couldn't get out. And so this is another thing that I love so much, especially about flogging, is that it can be utilized as a tool for people. They're feeling stuck and stagnant in their life. They have these repressed, suppressed, pent up emotions or energy that they can't move out, and like getting into a state with somebody that's safe that can help move that out is so healthy and cathartic and healing and beautiful. And then like underneath that, it's almost like the return of your spirit. Like, like your spirit comes back to life, and it's like, oh, all that debris that was like clogging me up, you know, getting it out.
So I think for me as Ella the Virgin, right, that again, I'm a little bit more vanilla. I love to hear this. And what I hear about this is, you know, to go find a partner maybe that has some experience, a kind and gentle experience. So Jess, of course, I know you and I know Lisa. So for the two of you guys, I would literally say, okay, show me and my partner how to make this happen so that it's safe. So it's not necessarily, you know, go find some random person on some site and just go. I mean, as a newbie, I would say that might scare you. So just make sure you choose your partner. It's kind of what I'm hearing as well. Because I think it sounds super exciting. I can feel this. I mean, I'm like, come on, right? So I want to make sure I have a great experience.
Well, one of the things that I might offer is that if this is something that you're interested in, it would behoove you or any of our listeners to go to an event. Like, for instance, here in Sarasota, we have our BDSM night at Kraken Ranch in Punta Gorda this weekend.
Okay.
And so this weekend I will be doing fire play. So I will be fire flogged, and I'll have my hair up and wrapped in a wet towel, and then I will be flogged with fire, which is just so fantastic. It's a great feeling. It's just heat that I feel. We'll also probably do some wax play, which we also did last weekend, and that's just, you know, candle dripping on, and we use special candles that burn at a low heat. So it's not burning me, and it's coming from a high, I'm lying on the ground or on a massage table. It's coming from 4 or 5 feet above me. And so it's just, you know, light drips. And so there's all sorts of things, but you can go to parties like these, and there may be some of the women that Jess flogged this weekend that had never been flogged before, but you can see how people operate and ask them, because some people have open relationships and they're able to play with other people. This is how I found my impact top, was he's monogamous with his girlfriend, but they were both okay with him doing impact play on me. And so I would see them at parties, and I saw him do it with other people, and I saw that he's really good at reading the body of the person that he's engaged with. And so it was easy for me to see his style, talk to him, and create a scene with him that made me feel comfortable. And so everybody,
and much like Jess shared, I mean, again, she went to this party, and so she ended up being, sounds like a coach.
Exactly. But one of the things that I have to say is that people in this lifestyle are genuinely interested in keeping people interested and feeling welcomed at these events.
I see. Okay.
So if you go, one of the things, I did a TikTok this morning, and part of the thing is that my husband and I wanted to go to these parties and go to sex clubs, and we were terrified, and we chickened out every single time. We said, okay, let's do it on Friday night. Okay, let's go to this club. Let's try that club. And we would chicken out every single time, and then I realized, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? We just decide we don't like it, and we walk out.
Just walk out.
Nobody's doing anything that you don't want them to do. Everything. Consent is very important. I mean, I have a friend, a muggle friend, who's going to her first sex party. She's going to be DJing at this sex party this weekend. And she's like, I'm really excited. I don't know what to expect. I'm just a DJ. This isn't my thing, but these people invited me. And I said, the biggest thing is at these parties, everybody wants consent. So everything is a no, unless you have an enthusiastic yes. And so people, I have found, consent not being any kind. I've never been touched by somebody who didn't ask my consent first. These places are very muggle friendly. So if you're open to looking for something, trying something, munches, so that you meet people in social situations where everybody's dressed and there's no kinky play at all, or go to a party and let everybody know that you're new, and oh my God, you'll just have people swarming around you. Let me show you this, and let me introduce you to this person. It's a very, very open and friendly community. And they're friendly and open because they are lifestyle positive, not because they're trying to get in your pants, right?
Got it. Sure.
That's, I think, the most important thing. Wouldn't you agree, Jess, is that it isn't about hooking up necessarily. It's about making sure that you do feel welcome and want to come back.
Yes. And I think it depends on the community specifically. I think that Sarasota has definitely a lifestyle positive, kinky community where it is very inclusive. I agree with everything that Lisa said. And for anybody that is interested or curious, there are a lot of dominatrices or former ones who offer classes and workshops, and that's where I got. So there's a woman named Midori who's based in San Francisco, and she does workshops and trainings both in San Francisco and LA, and sometimes Maryland, I believe. And she does things about shibari and flogging and whips, and she's, even having the conversation, and she's fantastic. She's one of, I don't want to say my idol because I don't want to idolize people, but I really, really look up to her. I've been to several of her events, and that another thing is that sometimes dominatrices will open their dungeons out to the public. So that's where that was the first time I stepped into one. So yeah, there was one called Dungeon West, and it's hosted by a very, very renowned LA dom named Mistress Justine Cross. And so I went there, and that was my first time walking into that space. And before I started anything, I just wanted to go in to see how I felt. And so to go into this open kind of meet and greet, it was only in January, so that was the only time we were going to see it that year, and be able to go in, see the equipment, and meet the different dominatrices that are in the space. And even though I wasn't, I guess I exuded confidence. And so like coming into that space, like it was known, like, and that's part of the thing is, if I can offer anything up, is posturing is so key. So, it just, at least carry yourself confidently. It's okay. You don't have to act, you don't have to talk like you know it. You don't have to do anything, but coming across like I am a sovereign, I'm secure in my body. I can say yes and I can say no very clearly. If you get that across, I think that's great. I've gone to some other play parties that I was invited to, some private places as well. I think that you will be seen, you will be noticed, and there will be people interested in talking and communicating. And I will say I did go to a pro dom party where the men there were all submissive. They were all there just to serve the not necessarily professional doms, but just it was a focus predominantly on the female, like the female supremacy of women. And so to be in that space and knowing that all of the men there are to worship and serve and please the women in the space was super awesome. And there are many, many women in my experience. I would say, yeah, for sure. Like to Lisa's point, there's a sense of I think for sure caretaking in a way, like for new people. There's almost like this unspoken rule or almost a semblance of responsibility that people take on of, you know, we know that this is a big cavernous space that can go many different ways, and we're here to help you. Are there bad eggs? Of course, there's always bad apples wherever you go, in any industry, in any realm, in anything.
Absolutely.
Doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
But just knowing that, I would say that for sure, by and large, there's a definite sense of community, because it's on the fringe. You know,
yeah, sure.
They know they don't fit in. We know that we're misfits. We know that the society has tremendous like judgments and preconceptions and, you know, all of that. So all the more reason that if you're brave enough to step into this space, like, gosh, do we want to like welcome you into it? So there's a lot of different ways to engage. So
Jess and Lisa, so again, for me as a much more vanilla type person, we talked about this. I think it's important to share, is that we will be putting together some kind of trainings, right? So whether it's a retreat or, you know, like kind of an after hours video or something. So, you know, someone like myself that's, you know, I'm not ready to do the sex club. You know, I'd love to like, I'd like to have a little bit more excitement. I mean, I have, you know, a great sex life, but I'd like a little bit more. I'd like to learn about flogging and stuff like that. That we can do that in our privacy of our own home or within the comfort of a nice event. Is that what we're kind of heading that direction, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
I can
videos, and I'm thinking of putting together an event for teaching women who want to learn how to stroke their partner's cocks better, you know, and having that opportunity like in person with their partner. We'll see how that goes, and offering private sessions as well, and coaching and guidance. And I've recorded things to create a digital program course that like women can take at their leisure from the comfort of their home, and can show the ropes, so to speak, on how to, or the strokes, so to speak, on cock massage and things like that. So there's plenty of options and opportunities, and kink is a big playground. BDSM is a really huge playground. And so something I did want to say, like, about some examples of what kink can be. Sure. Temperature play. So having hot wax poured on you, you know, definitely do some research on the best candles to use for that. But you can do wax play, so, you know, having that heat, or like even ice cubes. You know, ice cubes can be a really great thing. If you were to suck on an ice cube and then spit it out and then put your man's cock in your mouth, like, he's going to get this wholly different sensation, you know. And with our sex toys, me and my partner, like, we usually warm them up and like bring in that kind of like heightened arousal of the heat that's going on inside our bodies. So there's that. And then deprivation play. So deprivation is like, you know, wearing the blindfold or putting headphones on so you don't hear what's going on around you. There's all these different ways to close off different senses. A lot of time, you know, even being like tied up, scarf bondage. I love scarf bondage. That is such a sensual, kinky thing. Oh my gosh. And that's really, I actually prefer scarf bondage over ropes for a few reasons. One, ropes, if you put them in places that aren't correct, it can cause nerve damage. So I avoid that. I leave that to the more experienced people, unless I'm doing like really basic stuff and for short periods of time. But scarf bondage, I mean, that it's fabric. It's not taut and tight like ropes are. It doesn't cause those kinds of, in my opinion, those issues. And so even just taking a silk scarf and rubbing it lightly, pressing in with it, like that's kinky, that's arousing, that feels nice, you know. Even just doing that, using that same scarf as a blindfold, and like taking your lover out of their heads immediately into their body, all of their senses come online. It's like, what's going on? Utilizing the scarf to be kind of like a wrist bind that you can then use to pull them around into the bedroom, and, you know, all of that. Like those are super, super fun things. And then sensation play, like spanking is a huge kinky thing that can be done. And it doesn't have to be the same as maybe most of us remember growing up. But there's people who get turned on by that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, knowing how to cup the cheek just a certain way, and like tapping in and getting some blood flow up, and then lightly spanking, and then deepening in the impact of it, and then like really giving it a good spank and holding your hand there and shooting the energy up through the person's body, and then tickling their ass afterwards with your fingernails. Like, like there's these certain plays and things that can be done. And even just lightly nibbling on your lover, that's kinky, all these things.
Mm-hmm.
So it, and then Lisa, if you have a few pervertibles that you know of that you like to play with, that would be super helpful. So pervertibles are things that, well, I'll let Lisa explain.
Okay, so pervertibles are things that are common objects that we use and we pervert their use for something else. So for instance, one of the things we love doing is going to like Tractor Supply store.
Of all things.
They have like riding crops and things to, you might be familiar with these sorts of leather things that
horse things.
We get these bridles or crops, and they have a feathery end to them, and that's fun for like, especially for me. I like the feel of them, but they sound awesome behind your head when somebody's like whipping it behind your head. It's quite the mind fuck. I love it. So that's a good one. The Wharton wheel is another one. That's a chiropractic tool, but we use that for sensation play. We've taken the seatbelt fur sort of in fur covers that you put on a seatbelt, and we've ended up adding them to our benches, and we use them as stirrups. For when we want to have people on their back on their bench, we can use those as stirrups.
Nice.
Those sorts of things. I mean, if you just look around, there's all sorts of things that you can use. I mean, rulers, spatulas,
belt.
Yes, belts are another great thing. As a matter of fact, my impact top uses a belt to tie my knee against or to bend. If I bend my leg, they'll use the belt around my calf and thigh to tie me down without rope, right? Because it's just an easy belt loop and quick, boom, it's done. And then of course there's always food. Also helps with, like a cold carrot inserted is really quite a lovely feeling. And there are lovely also glass and steel dildos that you can heat and cool for play. I had gotten a ceramic one that you could fill with hot water or ice cubes, a dildo. That was also great fun. So, and I did end up buying the J-Lube that Jess had suggested, and we will have in our links as well, for lubrication. And when I told people at the party that I had J-Lube, they got very excited.
Oh, really?
Yes. They were like, oh my God, you found J-Lube. That's awesome. Yeah. So, yeah.
Is that the one from the equines? Is that the equine lube?
Yep. Veterinarians use it for husbandry, animal husbandry.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. So such a juicy, awesome podcast, roping it all back together, back to the beginning, which is kink can be your playground, and it can be light and fun and playful. And I think that's a great place to start to bring you into a sensational state of joy and exploration and curiosity. There's so many places to go and explore. It's really just following what your curiosity is and knowing that there is a safe way to access and tap into that. Thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you, Ella the Virgin and Lisa the Poly Wife, for sharing and asking such wonderful questions and our life experiences. The world is a playground, life is a playground, your intimacy is a playground, and you have so much to explore. And we're happy to be there as part of the journey for you. So thanks so much. Look forward to catching you on the next podcast.
Want more? Head over to theplayfulpodcast.com for all the juicy things we have to offer. From there, you can join our community where you can get access to after hours, attend upcoming workshops and events, and even book a session. Bye for now.